we have another question about death.
You're dying to ask this one too, I could tell.
Someone emailed and said, I've heard so much about this thing called the white light at the end of the tunnel. And he wanted your take on what that means.
Yeah, white light is very real. You have people who have near-death experiences, and when they come back, they're talking about that white light. And they talk about it in absolutely glowing terms, because it's glowing. It's really spectacular. So, but it is called reincarnation. And so when people die, they see this white light. It's very magnetic. And the process of dying and rebirthing and dying and rebirthing is all about this tunnel of white light. And depending on the religions, your understandings of all of this, you know, grandma is there, my ex-wife is there, my mother is there calling me into the white light, all very real. But as you begin to recognize that there are other choices in the context of your spiritual growth, it isn't just about being locked into reincarnation. You begin to get to the awareness that there are other choices. You can evolve. You can step into different aspects of your own consciousness, your own evolution, your own ascension. In that case, it's a funny thing I say to people, well, when you get to that white light, which is very seductive positively, what if you just stop and look to the left or the right? Very different choices are available to you. But it's, my belief says, if X, then Y. And all of the religions and all of the structures and all of the people coming back from near-death experiences say, wow, this is really spectacular. The conditioning of consciousness in a third dimensional reality is, if X, then Y. This is what you do. You go to that white light. But as a person starts to evolve into their own ascension, into their kind of own consciousness, most people are unconscious of being unconscious. And so as you begin to become, it sounds funny, conscious of being unconscious, that's a huge step. But very quickly from there you begin to become conscious of being conscious, and then aware of being aware. And so that's an evolution in an individual space. And as that relates to dying, you get to the point where you start to actually become aware of many other doors of conscious choice, rather than that reincarnation choice. You can reincarnate also through these other doors. And these are doors of wisdom and evolution and awareness that allow many to come back being very, very conscious and capable of influencing the world in ways that start to take it into a higher fifth dimensional consciousness. Many of these children, the younger millennials particularly, the ones who have been born after 2012, they're wired very different than the average person. They're coming in very conscious, and they just evolve into their consciousness as they age. Aging is also a different thing. They're growing in awareness over time. But many of these young kids, they're not dying the minute they're born. They're evolving. And you're going to see in the coming years people living to 150, 175 years old, because they're very aligned in a consciousness that's different than a death consciousness. Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So someone posted that they had a question about grief. And what she described was that she lost someone, her sister died, and she felt it in her body, like there was a hole in her gut, she said. So talk about that.
Yeah, grief is an emptiness. Is something's left me. Now people often they attach it to a divorce, a loss of a loved one in death, an ending of a relationship. I'm in pain. I have lost something. It's withdrawn from me. So grief is an energy structure, And what grief simply is there was you in your wholeness. And then in a third dimensional reality, because let's take love, and then let's take loss of love, whether it be death or divorce. But I meet you, and we like each other, and then pretty soon I'm in love with you, and I want to make you happy. But what the misperception is about love in this context is love is here. It's not over there. So, but what we do is we think in order for me to love you, you have to know I'm loving you, however that gets constructed. So I start loving you in your space. I start putting more of my attention into your space. And you start to put more attention into my space. But in order to do that, I'm giving away a part of me, and it creates somewhat of a hole. And you very quickly fill the hole. And so now I'm not whole, I'm joined with you. And so that joining is really, I'm giving you me, you're giving you me, and I like you because you're like me. And so we wind up having this mergings of energy. And then after some period of time, either a death or a divorce, let's say. And let's start with divorce. The divorce is not a good divorce. And it's like, how dare you leave me, and all of that kind of response, pain of that. And then I'm really angry with you, and I'm not going to let you go. Well, what we're doing is we're tugging and pulling on energy. And then I finally say, or you finally say, nope, that's it, I'm done, and I'm out of here. And I rip my energy out of your space because I want to be whole. And I move on. What you're left with is this devastating vibrational hole. And what the message is I'm not whole, but there's a big void. And so the void is attributed to the other person. It's you caused this pain in me. Well, when in fact, it's just a big hole that's empty. You know, the way to get out of grief in both situations, I'm going to talk about this one, is, and it's hard because I want them, I love them, I need them, they're my favorite, I don't know what to do without them. All that's real. But nonetheless, this big hole where they used to be, where you gave up your space and they stepped away. It's a process of calling you back. And I'll explain this tool in a second, or maybe in this next segment. But it's really about calling you back, taking back your seniority, becoming whole, one with yourself again. Now that's divorce. Death is a little different because usually when somebody dies, they aren't being vindictive or angry or resentful. They're simply removing their energy from your space. Now, that happens right at the point where they're dying because they move into their spiritual alignment, and there they have the knowledge of how to collect them back up. Many times, though, a person doesn't collect themselves back up because they don't want to hurt you. And so this is another topic of death. They can't die completely. They can't go back to heaven. They get stuck in between kind of two spaces because they don't want to hurt you. So that's another topic also. But that's how that whole process of death kind of works. And I'll tell you how you can resolve this and how to make this feel a little better, filling that hole. Yeah, we can do that next.